See, technically he's not a furniture maker, but Emile Jacques Ruhlmann was a designer, did like the beautiful Art Deco stuff, but he wasn't an actual woodworker himself. You know, he was a designer and he'd employ these woodworkers, and then they would say, oh, well, Emile, you can't do that in wood. And he's like, you were fired. And then they would get the next guy in, and it's like, oh, geez, don't ever say no to Jacques. But yeah, I really love the lines of it. And, you know, some of it can be a bit garish, but I think just his use of lines and stuff is pretty cool. So he'd be one of my favorites, yeah. I would have to say Sam Malouf's rocking chair. Like, I know he made different ones and they're slightly different and stuff like that, but I just think the lines on them are fantastic, you know? And I've never sat in one, but it just looks like it's comfortable, you know? But I think as far as the lines go and things, I think that's definitely the one that kind of pops into my mind. Oh, you know, I think it's gotta be a hall table that I had made. And the inspiration from it came from Emile Jacques Ruhlmann. And I ended up doing 8-sided tapered legs out of walnut and then put little holly feet on the bottom of them. And for me, that was my favorite because it was so challenging. But I think aesthetically, I think it's one of my favorites that I've built. I think for me, it's having something come from up here and then onto a piece of paper and then eventually to making it. I think there's a lot of power to have an idea become something that's tangible. And so I think that's, you know, for me, I think that's what I love the most, is that if I can think of it, 9 times out of 10, I can make it. And so for me, that's what drives the passion for me, for sure. Ooh, well, the entire top floor, with the exception of the bedrooms, is all mine. And so it's actually funny that you asked that question, because that's my goal, is to have every single piece of wooden furniture to be made by me eventually. So if my wife was here, she would be snickering because she finds that I don't produce near as quickly as she would like. But that would be the goal, is to have my entire house furnished by me. Trying to get too much information, you know, like just not seeing a technique and giving it a shot, right? And I think the internet, doesn't help matters in a way. There's a lot of good information on the internet, but there's a lot of good information on the internet. And so what happens is that, you know, let's say you want to learn how to cut a mortise and tenon. Well, you'll watch 25 different videos on how to cut a mortise and tenon. And the problem is that the way I cut a mortise and tenon and the way you cut a mortise and tenon might be different, but they're both be successful. And so I think the big thing that the people they get inundated with information, and then there's paralysis through analysis, and then you don't make anything, you know? So for me, I would say, you know, read a good book, you know, buy a video and watch it, and then shut your laptop off, close the book, and get into the shop. You know, like my blog posts, I always end them with the words, "In order to understand, you must do." And that's the reality, is that you can read all day long about it and have an incredible technical understanding of what you're doing, but until you use a saw to cut that or use a chisel to chisel that, you're not going to get any better. Man, that's not even fair. For me, I really enjoy the making with my hands. And so if I had to choose, I would say I would make it, not design it, if I had to pick one or the other. But that's tough because I don't even really enjoy making something from a plan. You know what I mean? And sometimes I've made stuff, you know, at work or whatever from a plan in order to prove it out or whatever. And so I always kind of find myself saying, oh, I wouldn't have done it like that, or I wouldn't have done it like that. And so I think, but if I had to choose, I think, because I would need to see it come to fruition, right? And so if I could design and not be able to actually make it a thing, that would drive me more crazy than not designing it in the first place.